Welcome back to Blue Collar Woodworking. I'm your host Stumpy Nubs, and I think you all know Mustache Mike, who's going to tell you all about what we've got in store this week.
All right, the drum sander dreams have finally become a reality. Stumpy complains about his number 6 and another big announcement.
And you thought it couldn't get any better. Shame on you. They said it couldn't be done. They said I was insane. Randy said, "What's a drum sander?" But I've shown them. I've shown them all.
What Stumpy's trying to say is his homemade drum sander dreams have finally come to fruition, and it's time for a little demonstration.
18 inches of 360-degree 100 grit goodness, powered by a surging half horse of pure electric muscle. It can smooth a board faster than any slower machine ever built, leaving a surface that's as clean as a buffet after Joy has her lunch. With upper and lower adjustable tables, micro adjustability, and quick release paper, this could quite possibly be the finest, most versatile, and dare I say, most attractive sander ever to come out of the Stumpy Nubs workshop.
The Stumpy Nubs drum sander is built from a half sheet of 3/4 birch plywood with simple dowel peg construction.
What can I say? I love using pegs. Makes me feel like a old-timey woodworker.
The half-horse motor is mounted beneath an adjustable table, which accommodates stock up to 3 inches thick.
Tilting tables aren't a new idea, but I made this one backwards. What that means is most people make it horizontal for full thickness, and then they tilt it up to decrease thickness in the stock. I made it the other way around. You tilt it down when you want to do thicker stock, because most often you do 3/4 inch, and this way you're pushing horizontally instead of uphill all the time. I mean, come on, we're not animals here.
The table itself is adjusted by an innovative collapsing lift, which gives even support across the table and allows the crank to be positioned in the front rather than underneath the unit.
I really thought about putting a crank down here, but I wanted something that's really low profile, and unless you're going to put a small knob, there's not enough room down here for a big crank. So what I did was I went with the same principle we used on our router lift, which was my little mini ratchet, which I always have handy on the bench, with a socket on it, and we can use this to raise and lower and put it away. It's really handy.
The drum is mounted between 2 hardwood arms to reduce sag and make an open-sided design possible, effectively doubling the sander's width capacity to 36 inches.
Alignment was critical with this, especially because we have 2 tables that we have to align with the single drum. So what we did is we aligned the lower table the best we could to the drum when it was still bare. Then we attached some sandpaper to the table itself and raised it up into the spinning drum. That way we changed the shape of the drum just a little bit and aligned it perfectly with the lower table. The upper table has 4 adjustment points, so it can be fine-tuned as needed too. You want the upper table to be close, but it doesn't have to be perfect because it's just for hand sanding. It's not nearly as critical as the lower table, which is for sanding bigger surfaces flat.
The drum itself is a real work of art, and you'll see that right after this.
Over the last few episodes, we've been working our way through Stanley's line of handy-dandy bench planes, and this week we've reached number 6, the fore plane, or as I like to refer to it, a short joiner. When I called the number 5 a fore plane in the last episode, some people thought I'd gone nuts because certain websites say that the number 6 is a fore plane, and if it's on the internet, it must be true. Actually, the number 6 is a fore plane, and so is the number 5. A fore plane is used to remove a lot of material quickly when flattening or dimensioning stock. It's usually a medium-sized plane, 14 to 18 inches long, and has more to do with the way it's used than the number that's on the body. Just like with my body, which can be a dangerous weapon no matter what number is on the scale when I step on it. Like this number 6, a foreplane has a wider mouth and the blade is often ground with a slight curved edge or camber. A lot of workers use the number 5 as their foreplane, others use the number 6, some use the number 2, but those people are just showing off. It really came down to where you were doing your work. If you had to carry all your tools to the job, you couldn't carry around a full set of heavy bench planes, especially not a long edge joiner. So you use your number 5 jack plane with a cambered blade as your foreplane, and with a nice sharp blade in your number 6, that could be used as a short joiner. Today most hand plane work is done inside the shop, and the number 5 jack plane still does the bulk of the work. And the number 7 is better at joining edges. So the number 5 has kind of lost that job too. I'm not saying that the number 6 is obsolete, but it does end up a little bit lower on the list of planes a new woodworker should buy. As with all tools, there are different schools of thought, and some may disagree with me on this number 6 thing. Maybe you're a number 6 lover. Maybe you should marry it. But if you're new to woodworking, especially with hand tools, I'd pass for now. As your skills grow and your techniques evolve, you'll be able to decide for yourself which planes belong in your till. Now I know you guys are just dying to see this drum here. And I'm dying to show you. But I got cold ones to enjoy, Mike has his stash to comb, and I gotta tell you, it's kind of fun messing with you. But the mob is forming outside and the pitchforks look a little sharper than usual, so I'm gonna hide under the bench while Mike gives you the rundown.
Most homemade drum sanders use hook and loop sandpaper.
That's Velcro to the layperson.
The problem is it can be a real hassle to change grips, and if you're swapping often, you can quickly wear out that fuzzy backing. Stumpy's solution is based on the commercial versions, which uses easy to find sandpaper rolls held in place by end tabs. You pop off the end cap and release the drum with a pull. That's all there is to it. The paper pulls right off. You put another roll on, the end tabs are held in place by wooden disc on each end. When you push the drum back into place, it engages with a pair of drive pins which secure it to the shaft.
You can even make multiple drums if you prefer and just leave a different grid on each one. Then swap out the whole drum instead of just the paper. Doesn't get any easier than that.
Now there's a lot of places that sell these drum sander rolls, and most brands will work. Rockler has jet rolls for a good price and they last forever.
But there's a way to get paper even cheaper and easier. And I'll tell you about it right after this next thing.
All right, here's my idea for this slab coffee table. I wanted a cypress stump. I don't have one. So I wanted a cypress stump. Now, I don't have one. So we'll make one. Now this is the table set with the central stump. Not to be confused with Stumpy Nubs out there. But, huh? You don't want to use Stumpy Nubs for a base for your coffee table? No, right now he's busy anyway. He's online making a homemade drum sander. That's what Stumpy's doing. Anyway, I mean, I know this is nuts, but I mean, you glue a bunch of 4x4s, 2x4s, anything. Because in this, I had that maple, and the core of it is maple, but then I had a bunch of old 8-quarter yellow pine that wasn't very good. And so it's just hunks of it just glued together to get a bunch of bulk. I don't even think Stumpy come up with something this insane. Well, I don't know. That's debatable. But. But now y'all understand. You know, when you know, I see it out here on the forums all the time. People say, you know, what do you do with your scrap? Well, you just keep gluing, and when you get enough, you make a stump. That's what you're going to do, right?
No.
I've made dumber things.
These belts aren't quite long enough to cover an 18-inch drum, so you'll have to adapt it to just 16 inches. That will mean not just adapting the drum, but you're going to have to shorten the table and the upper arms. So it's kind of a permanent fix. But if you want to make your drum sander where it will fit this type of sanding belt, it's really not that hard to adapt.
Of course, safety is always a big concern with a homemade tool. So we're going to be making a sled for small parts. Remember, the drum spins very fast, and if you're using a coarse grit or taking an aggressive cut, that can easily shoot the workpiece out at you. So anything shorter than 2 feet should be fed through on a sled. And all workpieces must be fed in the opposite direction than what the drum is spinning. Never, of course, the opposite way.
We're going to be putting together a set of detailed plans as we normally do in case you want to build one of these and you need a little more details as far as measurements, things like that. They should be available in the Stumpy store in the next few days, so go visit stumpynubs.com. It's time to fire her up and do some sanding. I'm going to go grab some wood. I'll be right back.
Want to impress your friends? Then just go to stumpynubs.com and click on the tab that says Stumpy Store. There you'll find plans for many of the projects you see on Blue Collar Woodworking, and you can help support the show.
You know what's great? Yeah, glue. It's all around us, holding everything together. It gives new life to broken furniture and old horses, and as woodworkers, we can't live without it. So when Rockler said they were going to change the way I glue, I said sign me up. You think that's over the top? Maybe. But we're talking gluing things together here. This is an area of the shop that doesn't get too many innovations, so you'll have to excuse me if I get a little excited. What I picked up was the Rockler 5-piece silicone glue application set. That's right, I said silicone. The same stuff I used to seal up my homemade wooden cyclone and that my plastic surgeon used to do my belly enhancement. Hey, my eyes are up here. The paddle has these great teeth for spreading glue evenly over large surfaces. The regular glue brush is great for doing edges and small surfaces. And the mini glue brush has this little pointy end that can get where no other brush would even dare go. I'm just like you. I've been using acid brushes and Q-tips in the shop and shower for years. But here's something an acid brush can't do. You don't have to wash it out. When the glue dries, it pulls right off. I bought one of these babies a while back when they first came out, and I've had time to use it quite a bit here in the shop. I really expected that these little bristles would pop off by now, but still good as new. But this new kit came with more than just another glue brush. It also came with this sweet, sweet scraper, which is fantastic for getting dried glue and not gumming up your good chisels. While the scraper might seem like a small step for man, the silicone tray is a giant leap for woodworker kind. Yeah, I like to make a little puddle of glue to dip my brush in. Makes me feel like an artist. And guess what happens when the little tray dries? Oh yeah, that baby peels clean just like the brushes. I don't have to wash anything anymore, and for that, these are some of my favorite things. This thing is going to get a lot of use around this shop. The underside will be great for sanding things like end grain cutting boards and removing machine marks left by the thickness planer with the chipped blades that I never get around to sharpening. And the top is going to be great for sanding small parts flat. And I'm even going to try letting the shop dogs walk across it. Maybe I won't have to trim the nails anymore. So that about wraps things up. And you know what that means, don't you, Mike?
Yes, blue collar woodworking fans, one of my favorite parts. It's time for sarcastic answers to viewer questions. First question. Dear Stumpy, you promised to wear a dress in the last episode? Is that a common occurrence here at the Stumpy Nubs workshop?
I don't wear dresses per se, but a friend and fan of the show over at lumberjocks.com named Sandra, she sent me a dress and some pantyhose a while back. I don't know why. The problem is, it didn't fit.
Next question. Dear Stumpy, you and Mr. Mustache should show more of the actual project build on the show. I'd like to see some sawdust being made.
I hear you, and I'm working on a solution. You see, this show is supposed to be about the workshop, the tools and the jigs and all the stuff that makes that workshop great. It's not so much about building the furniture. That doesn't mean I can't make furniture. I mean, I made this bookshelf up here that's holding like 100,000 pounds worth of books and some hand planes, and it hasn't fallen down yet. But I know what it's like to have that deep, all-consuming hunger that can only be satisfied with sawdust. So I'm proposing a solution that will end woodworking hunger forever. A new show, monthly, that will feature the construction of a project from beginning to end, but with a twist. We're going to use old-timey tools. We're going to be providing free plans for the projects that we're going to build in case you want to build along. And you can use your power tools if you want. But as we go along with our hand tools, we're going to be cutting the joinery, using the hand planes the old-fashioned way, and we're also going to take the time to explain what each tool is, how to tune it, and how to use it. So it's going to be not just project building, but also about the tools themselves in the same vein as Blue Collar Woodworking. You'll be hearing more about it in coming weeks right here on Blue Collar Woodworking and on Mustache Mike's Corner, the new podcast that he's been doing on scroll sawing. He's going to do some wood turning. You want to check that out. So stay tuned and check out stumpynubs.com for more details. Then you can sit back and have a cold one, because you've earned it, my friend. You'd be turning it all the time. There's not enough room for... I'll get it. Bird a little bit.
All right, let me try looking through the second lens.
Do you need me to make the text bigger?
No.
Mustache!
Easy to find sandpaper in the roll.
Good grief, Mustache. How many times do we have to do this? Forget it, Stash!